You're tired, aren't you? And I don't mean the kind of tired that a good night's sleep can fix. I'm talking about an exhaustion that has settled deep into your bones, a quiet weight you carry around beneath your smile and your professional demeanor. It's the fatigue of pretending you're fine while everything inside feels tangled and heavy. It's the weariness that comes from 1,000 small compromises you've made over the years, the kind that nobody else sees, but you feel every single day. Some things, though long past, still cling to you like shadows. A business that didn't make it. A relationship that ended in a way you never got closure on. Words you wish you'd said, or wish you could take back. Wounds that others have long forgotten, you're still quietly carrying, aren't you? You look in the mirror some mornings and you see the person you were supposed to be, standing just behind the person you've had to become. Life has a way of doing that. It sands down our edges, it lowers our expectations, and it teaches us to call it being realistic. It's not that you're weak. It's not that you lack resilience. You have weathered storms that would have broken many others. You've raised families, built careers, paid your dues, and you're still standing. But standing isn't the same as moving forward. And deep down, you know there has to be more than just enduring. More than just getting through another day, another week, another quarter. You've simply not yet been given the right tools, the right map to navigate the landscape of your own mind. We live in a world that sells us quick fixes, 5-step formulas to happiness, and motivational quotes that feel good for a moment but evaporate as soon as a real problem hits. They are temporary solutions for permanent problems. They don't honor the complexity of your experience. This is where we turn to something older, something more solid. Stoic philosophy isn't some lofty, academic theory meant to be debated in ivory towers. Think of it less as a philosophy and more as a psychological toolkit, a proven operating system for the human mind that has been stress-tested for over 2,000 years in the most extreme conditions imaginable. Emperors have used it to rule with clarity amidst chaos. Warriors have used it to face death with tranquility. Artists and entrepreneurs have used it to persevere through years of rejection and failure. They didn't use it to control the world around them. They used it to master themselves. They understood a fundamental truth that we have largely forgotten: the quality of your life does not depend on your external circumstances, but on the internal architecture of your mind. It is the only thing you truly have control over, and therefore, it is the only thing that can give you true freedom. So, in this video, we're not going to give you a list of things to do. We're going to embark on a journey through a process of profound transformation. We will not just learn 4 lessons from the Stoics, we will walk through 4 distinct stages of a psychological rebirth. Together, we will learn how to rewire your thinking, to find an unshakable strength precisely at the moment you realize no one is coming to save you, and ultimately, how to turn the very scars you've tried to hide into a roadmap for a new beginning. I want you to stay with me, because the final stage of this journey is built upon a powerful psychological concept known as post-traumatic growth. It's a scientifically studied phenomenon proving that for many people, the deepest moments of crisis and pain become the very gateway to a more meaningful, more powerful, and more authentic life. This isn't about bouncing back. It's about bouncing forward. This is the moment, not to simply endure more, but to finally overcome. Let's begin with the first stage of this transformation. We have to start by correctly identifying the prison. Because for most of us, it doesn't have bars, and it doesn't have walls. It's a comfortable, quiet place we've dug for ourselves over decades. We will call it the well of inaction. Some people don't need to be chained. They tie themselves to an invisible post, a belief system they've mistaken for reality. They live within borders drawn by others, or worse, boundaries they've meticulously built around themselves. Their world shrinks until it fits neatly within the corner of a desk, the familiar route to the grocery store, the glow of a phone screen cycling through the same apps, and a long list of things they'll do, one day, when the time is right, when the kids are older, when the mortgage is paid off. And just like that, without any dramatic event, they become the proverbial frog in a well. But this well isn't a cold, dark pit. Oh no, that would be too easy to escape. This well is padded with comfort. It's lined with the soft velvet of familiarity, the security of a predictable paycheck, and the deceptive peace of low expectations. There are no real barriers, just a mind that has shrunk to fit the hole it has dug to feel safe. And the well feels peaceful, doesn't it? There are no strong winds of failure, no storms of rejection, no disruptions to your routine. But there is also no growth. There's no challenge that sets your heart racing, no vision that pulls you out of bed in the morning, no sense of profound, terrifying freedom. Stay there long enough, and you begin to mistake this quiet stagnation for happiness. You mistake the lack of change for peace. You start to believe that this is all there is, that this is what being a responsible adult is supposed to feel like. But a life of preservation is not a life of purpose. Life is, and has always been, about evolution. You cannot grow if every day is a pristine copy of the one before it. The Stoics knew this. Zeno of Citium, the founder of the school, once said, "Well-being is attained by little and little, and nevertheless is no little thing itself." Your escape from the well doesn't happen in one heroic leap. It happens when you finally realize that the safety of the well is an illusion, and the cost of that illusion is your own potential. This brings us to one of the most powerful, and perhaps most overlooked, concepts in modern psychology, a concept that underpins the entire Stoic mindset. It's called your locus of control. Think of your life as a story. The question is, who is writing it? A person with an external locus of control believes that the pen is in the hand of someone, or something else. Fate, luck, their boss, the economy, their upbringing, the government, these are the authors of their story. When things go wrong, it's because of these outside forces. When they fail, it's because the world is unfair. They are, in essence, an actor reading lines from a script they were handed. But a person with an internal locus of control believes that they are holding the pen. They understand that while they cannot control the weather, the market, or the actions of other people, they, and they alone, are responsible for their response. They are the author. The plot may have twists they didn't anticipate, but they are the ones who decide what their character does next. For 20 years, you've been building your well, and every time you've blamed an external force for your situation, you've laid another brick. I can't start a business, the economy is too uncertain. That's a brick. I would have been promoted, but my boss plays favorites. That's a brick. I can't get in shape, I have no time because of my family. That is a thick, heavy brick. These reasons feel incredibly real. But they are not truths. They are symptoms of an external locus of control. They are the stories you tell yourself to make the well feel more like a home and less like a cage. Let's make this real. Consider the story of Vera Wang. Today, her name is synonymous with high fashion, a global empire built on bridal gowns. But her story didn't start there. In her youth, Vera Wang was an elite figure skater, dedicating her entire life to the sport. She trained, she sacrificed, she competed. And in 1968, she failed to make the US Olympic team. This is a critical moment. For many, this would be the end of the story. An external event, a panel of judges, had declared, "You are not good enough." With an external locus of control, her story would have been one of bitterness, of peaking too early, of blaming the system. She would have stayed in the well of what could have been. Instead, she pivoted. She put down the skates and moved into fashion journalism, becoming a senior editor at Vogue. A great career, a stable job, a great salary. This was a very comfortable well. She could have stayed there for the rest of her life, respected and successful. But the authorship was still not entirely hers. Then, at the age of 40, on the verge of getting married and frustrated with the lack of desirable wedding gowns, she made a decision that is almost unthinkable for most people. She decided to become a designer. At 40. With no formal training. She chose to step out of the well again, to start over from scratch, to be a novice in a world of experts. Her success didn't happen because she was chosen. It happened because she refused to let a panel of judges, or a comfortable job title, write the final chapter of her story. She decided she was the author. She seized the pen. So, what about you? What are the bricks in your well? Be honest with yourself for a moment. That voice that says, "I'm too old for that, I don't have the right connections, it's irresponsible to take a risk now." Is that voice speaking the truth? Or is it the comfortable, seductive voice of the well, begging you not to disturb the quiet? The Stoics would argue that you must disturb the quiet. Not with a grand, reckless gesture, but with a series of small, deliberate actions that prove to yourself that you are in control. That you are the author. So, what is one action you can take this week? Not to change your entire life, but simply to remind yourself who is holding the pen. Call and ask for an informational interview in a field you're curious about, even if you know you're underqualified. Don't do it to get a job, do it to prove you have the courage to ask. Spend an hour learning a new skill online, not because you know how you'll use it, but because the act of learning itself shifts your locus of control inward. Rewrite your resume. Not because anyone has asked for it, but because it is a document that forces you to articulate your own value, to yourself. Start something not for the result, but for the act of beginning. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. Don't romanticize the climb out of the well. Your hands will get scraped on the rough bricks of your own excuses. Your knees will be bruised by clumsy first attempts. Your pride, that fragile thing you protected for so long in the quiet dark, will take a hit. There will be days, many of them, when you just want to let go and slide back into the familiar comfort. But you are no longer the same person you were when you started. Every time you push past a small, self-imposed limit, your view expands. Not to see the world, but to see yourself. A different version. Stronger, calmer, and brave enough to say, "I wasn't born to play it safe. I was born to evolve." That is the first step. To realize you're in a well, and to understand that you are the one who must begin the climb. You must choose to be the author. But what happens when, as you're climbing, the world decides to throw a storm your way? What happens when a real crisis hits, not a manufactured one? That is the next test. And to pass it, you must learn the architecture of your own pain. Terrible things often strike without an invitation. They don't schedule an appointment. They arrive like a storm on a clear day, a midnight phone call that changes everything, an email from HR with a subject line that makes your heart stop, a look of distance in the eyes of someone who once felt like home. They hit hard, and they hit fast. But the Stoics, and indeed modern psychology, teach us a staggering truth: it is not the storm itself that has the power to break us. It's how we choose to interpret the storm. It is the story we tell ourselves about what is happening that ultimately determines our fate. A person drowns not because the water is deep, but because they stop fighting to stay afloat. They close their eyes and surrender to the current. They sink not because the waves are too strong, but because their will to navigate them has been shattered. This brings us to the second, and perhaps most practical, stage of our transformation, learning to master the architecture of your own pain. To do this, we must understand one of the most powerful tools in all of cognitive behavioral therapy, a technique known as cognitive reframing. The core principle is simple, but its implications are life-altering. What upsets people is not the things themselves, but their judgments, their interpretations, their stories about these things. It's not the event that hurts you, it's the narrative you build around the event in the seconds, minutes, and days that follow. Let's be very clear. This is not about pretending the pain isn't real. Stoicism isn't about emotional suppression. It's not about being an emotionless robot. Pain is a real, physiological response. When you suffer a loss, you will feel it. The goal is not to avoid feeling. The goal is to prevent the feeling from hijacking your entire operating system. Emotions, if left unchecked, if allowed to become the sole author of your story, will tear you apart from the inside out. They will convince you that a temporary situation is a permanent reality. Think about it. How many times have you allowed a single, negative event to ruin an entire day? A passing critical comment from your boss, a rejection email, someone ignoring you in a meeting. Your mind, in an attempt to protect you, blows it up into a catastrophe. My boss thinks I'm incompetent, I'm going to lose my job. This rejection proves I'm not good enough. I'm invisible, nobody values my opinion. You let a bad 5 minutes swallow a whole 24 hours. You might even let it bleed into the weekend, replaying the scene over and over, each time adding another layer of negative interpretation. You start to believe the story that the universe is somehow conspiring against you. But stop. Take a breath and ask with genuine curiosity, is that story actually true? Is it the only true story? Or are you just replaying an old, familiar script that you're tired of watching? Cognitive reframing is the act of consciously and deliberately challenging that first, automatic, negative narrative. It's the practice of looking at the facts of a situation, separating them from the emotional story you've attached to them, and then actively searching for alternative, more empowering narratives that are just as, if not more, true. Let's look at one of the most powerful examples of this in modern history. In December of 1914, a massive explosion erupted in the West Orange, New Jersey, factory complex of Thomas Edison. Fire tore through the buildings, which were made of concrete, thought to be fireproof, but the intense heat caused them to crumble. 10 buildings were destroyed, along with years of priceless research, prototypes, and one-of-a-kind equipment. Edison, then 67 years old, watched his life's work go up in flames. His son, Charles, ran to find him, panicking, expecting to see his father utterly devastated. He found him standing calmly, watching the blaze. What Edison said next is a masterclass in cognitive reframing. He didn't see a disaster. He saw something else entirely. "Go get your mother and all her friends," Edison told his son. "They'll never see a fire like this again." When Charles was understandably confused, Edison reframed the situation again. "It's all right," he said. "We've just gotten rid of a lot of rubbish." Later, when a reporter asked him what he would do, he was quoted as saying, "Although I am over 67 years old, I'll start all over again tomorrow." This is not the response of a man in denial. This is the response of a man who had mastered the architecture of his own mind. Let's break down his reframing process. The event, the fact, was simple: my laboratory has burned down. The automatic, catastrophic narrative most people would tell is, I'm ruined. My life's work is gone. It's a disaster. At my age, I can never recover. That story leads to despair, paralysis, and surrender. But Edison consciously rejected that narrative. He chose a different one. The first reframe was one of awe and perspective. This is a unique, powerful spectacle. This immediately shifted his emotional state from one of personal loss to one of impersonal observation. The second reframe was one of opportunity. We've gotten rid of rubbish. He reframed the loss of his work not as the destruction of value, but as a purification, a chance to clear away old mistakes and outdated ideas. It was a forced slate cleaning. 3 weeks later, with a loan from his friend Henry Ford, he had his teams working around the clock and unveiled his new invention, the phonograph. He didn't just rebuild, he leveraged the disaster to innovate faster. He didn't fall with the fall, he used the downward momentum to launch himself forward. So how can you, in your own life, become the architect of your pain instead of its prisoner? Here is a simple but profoundly effective exercise. The next time something happens that triggers that familiar, sinking feeling of anger, anxiety, or despair, take out a piece of paper or open a new note on your phone. Draw a line down the middle. On the left side, write down the header, the automatic story. On the right side, write, alternative stories. In the left column, write out the catastrophic narrative your mind is automatically feeding you. Don't judge it, just get it out. My presentation failed. Everyone thinks I'm an idiot. My career is over. Now, pause. Take a deep breath. Look at that story on the left. And then, in the right-hand column, force yourself to write at least 3 other possible interpretations of the exact same event. They don't have to be wildly optimistic, just different. The presentation had some weak spots. This is valuable feedback on what I need to work on. The people who matter will see this as a learning experience. Perhaps the audience was distracted today. The core idea is still good, I just need to find a better way to present it next time. This was a tough but necessary experience. Pushing myself to do things that might fail is the only way I'm going to grow. The failure itself is a sign of courage. Do you see what happens? The simple act of creating alternative stories breaks the monopoly of the first negative narrative. It introduces doubt into the catastrophe. It returns a sense of agency to you. You are no longer just a victim of the event, you are the interpreter of the event. You are looking at the sky from a different angle. This practice, done consistently, will retrain your brain. It cools the storm inside. It won't erase the initial wound, but it will stop you from pouring salt in it over and over again. When you lose money, you don't have to lose your mind along with it. When a relationship ends, it doesn't have to be the end of your worth. Every fall is a chance to pause, reframe, and rebuild with wiser materials. This is strength. Strength isn't about never falling. It is about allowing yourself to hit the ground, to feel the impact, but refusing to stay buried under the weight of a single, self-defeating story. You can rest, you can grieve, but then you must rise and choose the narrative that serves your growth, not your pain. And when you do get up, don't expect a round of applause or a hand to pull you. Because the next, and perhaps most difficult lesson in this journey, is the one nobody wants to hear. It is the raw, uncomfortable, and liberating truth that no one is coming to save you. There is a story that has been woven into the fabric of our culture since we were children. We've seen it in 1,000 movies, read it in 100 books. It's the story of the hero, down on their luck, trapped in an impossible situation, who is saved at the last possible moment. The cavalry crests the hill. The knight slays the dragon. The benevolent mentor appears with the secret knowledge. It is a powerful, comforting, and deeply human fantasy. It is the myth of rescue. And for an adult, it is the single most dangerous story you can ever tell yourself. We wait. We quietly hope someone will discover our hidden talents, that our boss will finally recognize our hard work, that a lucky break will fall from the sky and solve all our problems. We wait for someone to reach down into the well we're in and pull us out. And as long as you are waiting, you will never be free. As long as you are hoping for an external savior, you are cementing your belief in an external locus of control. You are actively, if unconsciously, handing the pen of your life story to someone else. The harsh, cold, and ultimately liberating truth that Stoicism demands we confront is this: no one is coming. No one is coming to do the work for you. No one is coming to suffer in your place. No one can lift you up if you do not possess the will to stand on your own. The moment you truly accept this, not with bitterness or despair, but with a calm and steely clarity, is the moment your real life begins. It is the moment you fully shift your locus of control inward and claim authorship of your own existence. This is not a punishment, it is your emancipation. There is no greater story of this principle in action than that of Sir Ernest Shackleton and the crew of the ship Endurance. In late 1914, Shackleton set out to be the first to cross the Antarctic continent on foot. It was the last great prize of the heroic age of exploration. But the Antarctic is a cruel and indifferent master. In January 1915, the Endurance became trapped in the dense pack ice of the Weddell Sea. For 10 months, the ship and its 28 men were held in the ice's grip, drifting helplessly. They were a tiny, isolated speck in the most hostile environment on the planet. There was no radio. No GPS. No possibility of a rescue mission. The world did not even know they were in trouble. Then, the ice, with the force of a tectonic plate, began to crush their ship. The crew watched in horror as the massive timbers of their vessel, their only home and their only link to civilization, splintered and groaned before the sea swallowed it whole. They were now stranded on a floating sheet of ice, thousands of miles from another human being. This is the ultimate test of a leader's locus of control. With an external locus, Shackleton would have hunkered down, rationed supplies, and prayed for a miracle, for the ice to break up favorably, for a phantom whaling ship to appear on the horizon. That would have been a death sentence. Instead, Shackleton made one of the most audacious decisions in human history. If no one was coming to save them, they would save themselves. He was holding the pen. He gathered his men on the ice and laid out the impossible plan. They would drag 3 of the ship's heavy lifeboats across the treacherous, shifting ice fields toward open water, and then sail to safety. For months, they endured unimaginable hardship. The sun vanished for the winter, plunging them into perpetual darkness. Their food dwindled. The ice beneath them cracked and split. Yet Shackleton's resolve never wavered. His internal belief that he was responsible for the outcome radiated through the crew, suppressing mutiny and despair. When they finally reached the edge of the ice, they launched their 3 small, open lifeboats into the most dangerous body of water on Earth, the Drake Passage. For 7 days, they were battered by monstrous waves and freezing gales. Soaked to the bone, gnawed by frostbite, and tormented by thirst, they finally sighted land, the uninhabited Elephant Island. They were safe from the sea, but their ordeal was far from over. No one would ever find them there. So Shackleton made another decision. Taking 5 of his best men, he prepared one of the lifeboats, the James Caird, for an even more impossible journey, an 800-mile, open-boat voyage across the Southern Ocean to a whaling station on the island of South Georgia. It was a journey that modern sailors with advanced equipment would call suicidal. They faced hurricane-force winds and waves the size of office buildings. A single mistake, a single moment of lost hope, and they would have vanished without a trace. Miraculously, they made it. But they had landed on the wrong side of the island. Between them and the whaling station lay a range of uncharted, glacier-covered mountains that no human had ever crossed. Exhausted, frozen, and starved, Shackleton took 2 men and began the final 36-hour trek, a final, defiant act of self-reliance. When he finally stumbled into the whaling station, covered in soot and grime, the whalers who had known him before did not even recognize him. He had not waited. He had gone. And he did not rest. He immediately organized a mission to go back and rescue the men he had left behind. Every single man from the Endurance expedition survived. Not because of luck, not because of a miracle, but because of one man's unwavering belief that rescue is not something you wait for, it is something you create. Now, what about you? What is the ice you're trapped in? Is it a mountain of debt? Is it a dead-end career that is slowly crushing your spirit? Is it a relationship that has grown cold and desolate? Who are you waiting for to save you? Are you hoping your boss will suddenly appreciate you, that your partner will magically change, that the market will turn around, that some external force will intervene and make things right? How much longer are you willing to drift, waiting for a rescue that will never arrive? The feeling of being left behind, the cold truth that you are on your own, can be the very fuel that gets you back on your feet. Not with bitterness, not with drama, but with the quiet clarity of purpose. No one is coming. So, stop waiting. If you are still here, still listening, it means this truth doesn't scare you. It empowers you. It means you are ready to stop being the one who waits, and start being the one who acts. It means you are ready to pick up the pen. So right now, I want you to make a declaration, to yourself and to everyone else on this journey. Go to the comments below and write these 5 simple words: I am my own rescue. It's not just a comment. It is a commitment. It's the moment you fire your own personal cavalry. Because once you understand that you are solely responsible for the outcome, you are no longer a victim. You are an explorer. You are a survivor. You are an author. And once you truly internalize this, you are ready for the final, most transformative stage of this journey, learning not just to survive your hardships, but to grow because of them. So you have done the impossible. You have faced the cold reality that the universe is indifferent, that fairness is not guaranteed, and that the only rescue you can count on is your own. You have taken the pen back into your own hand. But this begs the most important question of all: now that you are the author, what kind of story are you going to write? It's one thing to climb out of the well. It's another thing entirely to decide where you will walk once you are on solid ground. Surviving is not the end goal. Thriving is. This is where we enter the final and most profound stage of our journey. This is where we learn to not just get over our pain, but to grow because of it. For decades, our culture has been focused on the pathology of trauma. We have a well-known term for it: post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. It's the idea that extreme adversity leaves us broken, damaged, and permanently scarred in a way that diminishes our lives. And for some, that is a very real and serious clinical reality. But it's only half of the story. In recent years, psychologists have been studying the other side of that coin, a phenomenon that is just as real but far less talked about: post-traumatic growth, or PTG. This isn't a motivational slogan, it is a scientifically observed outcome for a significant number of people who endure hardship. It's the discovery that for many, trauma doesn't just break them, it breaks them open. It acts as an involuntary catalyst for profound positive change, leading to a life that is often richer and more meaningful than the one that came before. The goal, then, is not to simply return to who you were before the crisis. The goal is to become who you were always meant to be because of it. Post-traumatic growth typically manifests in 5 distinct areas. As I describe them, see if you recognize the seeds of them in your own experience. First, there is a renewed appreciation for life itself. When you have faced a true crisis, a serious illness, a devastating loss, or a professional failure that shakes your very foundation, the trivialities that once consumed your energy simply fall away. The traffic jam on the way to work, the argument over something petty, the pressure to keep up with the neighbors, it all becomes background noise. In its place, you find a startling clarity. The taste of your morning coffee, the warmth of the sun on your skin, a moment of genuine connection with your child, these small, ordinary moments become infused with an extraordinary beauty. You stop living on autopilot because you have been viscerally reminded that none of this is guaranteed. Second, you often develop deeper, more authentic relationships. A crisis is a powerful filter. It burns away superficial connections. The people who were there for the good times often vanish when things get hard. But the ones who stay, the ones who sit with you in the darkness without trying to fix it, the ones who show up without being asked, those relationships become forged in steel. You find your tolerance for pretense and small talk has disappeared. You crave authenticity. You become a better friend, a more present partner, and a more compassionate listener because you understand the true value of human connection in a way you simply couldn't before. Third, you discover a new sense of your own personal strength. Before the crisis, your strength was a theory. Now, it is a fact. You have looked into the abyss and you didn't fall apart. You survived. You are still here. This knowledge settles into you, not as arrogance, but as a quiet, unshakable confidence. The challenges that would have once terrified you now seem manageable. The fear of what other people think, which used to dictate so many of your choices, loses its power. You have been tested by real fire, and the opinions of the crowd are now just smoke. You carry yourself differently because you know, in your bones, if I survive that, I can handle this. Fourth, you begin to see new possibilities for your life. When the life you had planned is irrevocably shattered, you are forced off the old path. This is terrifying at first, but it is also a strange and powerful gift. You are no longer bound by the expectations you had for yourself. You are free to explore new avenues, new interests, new identities. You might discover a passion you never knew you had, or start a business based on a lesson you learned from your failure. This is the essence of growth. You are no longer just following a map, you are drawing a new one. And finally, many people experience a profound spiritual or existential development. You begin to ask bigger questions. What is my purpose here? What truly matters? The relentless pursuit of money, status, and recognition can suddenly feel hollow. You find yourself drawn to concepts like service, contribution, and legacy. You start building a life based not on what you can get, but on what you can give. This idea of building a life of contribution out of immense hardship is perfectly embodied in the life of Konosuke Matsushita, the founder of Panasonic. His story is a case study in post-traumatic growth. Matsushita's childhood was one of unrelenting poverty and loss. He was forced to leave school at the age of 9 to work as an apprentice. By the time he was 20, he had lost his mother, his father, and most of his siblings to illness. He himself battled chronic lung problems his entire life. When he decided to start his own electronics company, he had no money, no connections, and only a 4th-grade education. His first workshop was a tiny, 2-room tenement house. He and his wife had to sell their personal belongings, including her wedding kimono, just to survive. By any objective measure, his early life was a continuous series of traumatic events. He could have become bitter. He could have developed an external locus of control, blaming fate and his poor health for his misfortune. Instead, the immense suffering he endured forged in him a profound philosophy of purpose. He didn't see business merely as a way to get rich. He saw it as a spiritual practice, a vehicle for service. He came to believe that the purpose of a business was to overcome poverty, to relieve society of its suffering, and to produce goods that were as plentiful and as cheap as tap water, enriching the lives of everyone. This mission, born directly from his own experience of lack, became the guiding principle for his entire company. He wasn't just making light sockets and radios, he was building a better world. That purpose, forged in the crucible of his pain, is what fueled his relentless drive and innovation, eventually creating one of the largest and most respected companies in the world. He didn't just get over his past, he converted it into fuel for a life of extraordinary contribution. This is the final challenge, and the final invitation, for you. Look at the pain you have endured. Look at the scars you carry. The question is no longer, why did this happen to me? The question, the only question that matters now, is, what has this taught me, and how can I use that lesson to serve? The knowledge you gain from a failed business could be invaluable advice for a young entrepreneur. The compassion you learn from navigating a painful divorce could make you an incredible friend to someone else who is struggling. The resilience you built beating an illness could be a source of silent inspiration for everyone around you. Your pain was not pointless. It was your education. It was the tuition you paid to learn a lesson that you can now share with the world. Your purpose is not to erase your scars. It is to build your legacy upon the foundation they have laid. You are not damaged goods. You are a work in progress, stronger in the broken places, ready now, finally, to begin your most important work. And so, we arrive at the end of our journey for today, but at the true beginning of yours. We began in a place of quiet exhaustion, in the heavy silence of the hurts we carry alone. From there, we walked through the 4 stages of a Stoic transformation, a psychological rebirth designed not just to help you survive, but to help you re-emerge. First, we confronted the comfortable prison we build for ourselves, the well of inaction. We saw how the need for safety and predictability can shrink our world, and we learned that the first act of freedom is to reclaim our role as the author of our own lives by shifting our locus of control from the external to the internal. You realized you are the one holding the pen. Next, we explored the architecture of pain. We learned that it is not events that break us, but the stories we tell ourselves about them. Armed with the powerful tool of cognitive reframing, we saw how to challenge our automatic, negative narratives and consciously choose interpretations that empower us, just as Edison reframed a catastrophic fire into a clean slate for innovation. You learn that you are not just the author, but also the editor of your own perceptions. Then, we faced the most uncomfortable and liberating truth of all, the myth of rescue. We walked with Shackleton across the ice and accepted that no one is coming to save us. In that stark realization, we didn't find despair, we found our ultimate strength. By committing to the idea that, I am my own rescue, you fired your own personal cavalry and took absolute ownership of your path. Finally, we arrived at the understanding that the purpose of all this struggle is not merely to return to who we were, but to become more. We learned about post-traumatic growth, the remarkable human capacity to transform suffering into strength, meaning, and purpose. We saw that our deepest wounds can become the source of our greatest contributions, that our scars are not signs of damage, but proof of our resilience and the foundation of our wisdom. The promise of Stoicism was never a life free from pain. It was never a promise of calm seas or fair winds. Its promise is far more valuable, and far more real. It is the promise that if you stay calm, stay clear, and stay disciplined in your mind, life will not be able to knock you down in the same way again. It is the promise that within you lies an unshakable citadel that no external event can ever truly conquer. The pain of your past does not have to be a life sentence of suffering. It can be your curriculum. It can be the training ground for the person you were always meant to become. You do not need to forget what happened to you. You simply need to decide, today, that you will no longer let it pull you under. You will no longer allow it to be the dominant voice in your story. You've carried the weight long enough. It's time to let it go. Not because you are weak, but because you are finally strong enough to do so. If this video put words to something you felt but didn't know how to name, if it sparked a flicker of recognition in your soul, then do one last thing. Leave a like on this video. Not for me, not for the algorithm, but for yourself. Let it be a quiet, personal declaration, a digital line in the sand, that today marks the day you stop just enduring, and start overcoming. The day you begin again. And hit that subscribe button, so you don't miss future videos where we continue this journey together, where we don't look away from the hard truths, but learn how to walk through them, and emerge stronger on the other side. Thank you for walking this path with me. Your new beginning starts now.